Hey, this is Steve Bloom, and you are listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
You're tuned in to Steve Megatron on Altered Geek.
Hello and welcome to Altered Geek. I am your host, Steve Megatron Phillips, and joining me in this episode is Mike Booth Ninja Powers.
Hello.
Hello. And we're going to be talking about our kind of our hopes and thoughts of things that could come in 2018.
Or in other words, a prediction episode for 2018.
Yes, a prediction episode. So, I like predictions anyway. Like, it's been a while since we've had some, you know, like with the whole Batman costume and Batmobile and...
Yeah. That... We were good on that one.
Yeah, that was scary spot on.
So you guys can go back and listen to that one.
that was very early on. And then I've had the predictions of what's funny is in GCRN Wars we did this thing on Star Trek vs. Star Wars way back when. It was before Disney owned Lucasfilm.
Okay.
And I predicted 3 or 4 months before it was even announced that Disney was buying Lucasfilm. I said, yeah, just wait. I says, you know, Disney will buy Lucasfilm. And then they were like, no, don't say that. And then later that year they bought them. And I think, and somebody else pointed it out to me. I didn't even go back. Like 4 years later, somebody messages on that episode post like, hey, listen to this timestamp. You predicted this before it happened. And I was like, oh, really? I think I predicted the Marvel thing too, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, you predict enough things over a period of time, and it's gonna happen. It's like when I see the predictions for when, like, cell phone predictions. You know, people, like, especially around the iPhone, they're like, oh, next year it's gonna have this or it's gonna have that. You keep saying the same thing until it happens. Obviously you're gonna be right, you know, like that's the weird thing about predictions. Like, I like making them, but at the end of the day I just keep thinking, you know, it's that's just how it goes. Like, you eventually all things come in. Like, people were impressed that the Simpsons predicted the Disney buying Fox thing like so many years ago,
like 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah, but it's like, you go long enough, like, I mean...
They were playing the long game there.
Yeah, but it's like the Dark Knight thing. It's like, what is it? You live long enough to see...
see yourself become the villain.
Yeah, it's like, if you live long enough, then all of your predictions come true.
Yeah, that's the insane thing. Like, I think eventually we'll see, like, the, you know... Hasbro buy, like, Mattel. I think that's possibly in the work, just based on articles I've seen this year of Mattel kind of being in hot water. And then I think that at some point Time Warner or Warner Brothers is gonna get bought up by, like, AT&T or somebody else, which will include, like, DC Comics, and because I think we're going to end up with a lot of giant companies over the next year. Because, like, Disney owns Marvel, they've bought Fox, you know, they've bought Lucasfilm. I mean, they're just filling themselves with tent poles, and I think that you know, now with them getting all of their Marvel properties back for the most part, other than the Incredible Hulk and Spider-Man, who are on loan from other studios. I think that we're going to start seeing a lot more of these big scale mergers.
Yeah, which is kind of scary, I guess. But I feel like Disney's done right with their acquisitions. So it'll be like that's going to be the kind of surprising thing to see if anything big gets announced. Do you think we'll see like a... I mean, they moved pretty fast on making deals for like Daredevil and stuff like that, like with Netflix when they got them back from Fox. Like, do you think 2018 will have any news for Fantastic Four?
I think that Fantastic Four. I think that they may try and do a film, but I think that what would be more conducive of their time would be to put it as a Netflix series so they can actually flesh it out properly instead of trying to squeeze it in this 2 hour movie.
I feel like that would be a way to go. But I feel like Fantastic Four is something that people have been clamoring for. Like, they want to see Reed Richards in the cinematic stuff,
Which
and
I totally agree.
I don't think you're gonna see like I wish they would bring the Defenders like into like
live action, the big
like,
screen.
yeah, like have them cameo and like the big crossover stuff, like especially like the Infinity stuff. But that's not going to happen, right?
No.
So like I feel like if they were to like even like even one of my little predictions or one of my wishes was to see, because they cast Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange, I thought it would have been great to see him show up in some capacity in the Defenders. Like, you've got an actor who's used to working in TV, and he's also working in film, so he knows both sides, right? So I felt like that would have been a good shot, but they passed on it. They haven't done it yet. So I don't feel like they would do that. I don't feel like they would put Fantastic Four on the small screen, especially when you can have such large scale adventures for them.
That's true, and with the Phase 1 Marvel cast being kind of phased out with Phase 4 of Marvel, I think that they're going to replenish it with X-Men reboots and Fantastic Four.
So, do you think?
I think we'll see a new Wolverine cast this year.
Ooh.
By Disney. Or at least rumblings of it.
Yeah, well, I think you're going to get rumblings of everything having to do with X-Men, especially depending on how Dark Phoenix does.
I think that we're going to see a reboot after Dark Phoenix. I honestly do. I think we're going to get an entire new... because Marvel or Fox, while they did have these certain films in the planning, I think Disney is going to want to hit it while they can and kind of get these prepped for new castings for the Phase 4 scenario after the two Avengers films.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're going to want to pump out brand new universe, kind of connecting with what they've already built with new stuff, kind of like they've done with Spider-Man.
Right. Well,
so
let's see what happens
think we'll
there.
see. I think we'll see a new Wolverine cast this year, though.
I think I don't want to make any predictions on Wolverine yet.
I don't know who.
So who do you think? Here's a quick one. Is Aquaman going to be a success or another DC dud?
I think he's gonna go the way of Wonder Woman. Honestly,
Think so?
I think so. I think because we've never seen him on live action screen, other than like, Smallville or something. But I think that because they've even alluded to him in the CW, Arrowverse, just like they've done Wonder Woman, Batman, and Green Lantern and whatnot. But
Yep.
I think that his film, I think that there's going to be a little bit more lightness, but it's going to be just as dark as it should be.
Okay.
And I say that meaning that I think that they're going to go for a more gritty Aquaman, obviously, but I think he's still going to have some of his comedic tones that were in Justice League.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that that's what's going to help that film work very similar to how Wonder Woman worked. So I think it'll be something fresh that, instead of focusing on Batman and Superman all the time.
That's what I'm hoping for, and that's me being optimistic, as I want to be about the DC Universe stuff. Do you think Ben Affleck will finally decide what he wants to do with Batman?
I think so. I think we'll see it could go either way
Well,
because
yeah.
he's wishy-washy. I don't really want to make that prediction on what way he's going to sway, but I have a feeling that he'll continue with this universe, and he may not be in the trilogy of Batman films.
Okay. Uh, I think he'll make up his mind one way or the other. I think we'll know this year what will be his last movie.
Yeah, I
Whether
agree.
he's done or he's done after Flashpoint. Like, that I think we'll figure that out. I have an easy prediction. I think we'll get 3 more iPhones this year. So
Oh,
I'm
you're
just gonna
saying
go out.
like the regular one, the S, and then
Yeah, I think we'll
the
get
X.
I think we'll get iPhone. I think we'll get iPhone 10s, new iPhone. I think we'll get 10s. And I think we'll get. I don't know if they're going to call it an iPhone 9 or not. I don't think it'll be an 8s, but I do think we'll get a new trio of iPhones this year. I'm just going to go way out on a limb on that one.
Oh, kind of like how we're gonna have the Galaxy S9 come out in March.
Yeah, yeah. So
Uh, yeah, I can see that. That's almost a given every year. Just like Samsung coming out around the same time with something new.
right.
Um, yeah, I'm gonna make a prediction. We're gonna see a lot more revival TV shows from the '90s.
This is on the heels of the Mad About You news.
It kind of, I saw that, but I don't know how much concrete evidence there is of that. It's more so because we've got a Roseanne reboot coming, or not
Okay.
reboot, but just continuation with the last episode omitted.
Okay.
And then we've got of course X Files is still around. We've got a variety of other shows that are kind of floating about. I think we're going to see a lot more '90s properties come back into the fold with TV shows.
Any guesses as to what?
I think it'd be hilarious if they did like a Home Improvement revival, but I doubt that with the way that ABC and Tim Allen parted. But it would still be funny. Just to have all those people come back years later. I would like to see that, but I don't know about that. You may eventually see maybe some TGIF stuff come back because we've already got 2 that have come back. You had Girl Meets World of Boy Meets World, and then Fuller House.
Yeah.
And then there's Family Matters Step by Step. I know that a couple of the cast members of certain shows are no longer among us, but that still hasn't stopped like Fuller House, where the Olsen twins are non-existent in the show, and they keep poking and prodding with specific lines to purposely allude to the fact that they're supposed to be there and aren't. But I think we're going to see more TV revivals.
Okay. I think another. Well, I don't really know if it's a foregone conclusion at this point, right? I think we'll see the N64 Classic.
I was kind of wondering about that, but I think, what was it, earlier this summer or late summer, somebody had noticed that Nintendo had trademarked N64 something and GameCube something that had to do with the controllers and the titles of the consoles themselves.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't put it past them to have an N64 Classic this year, which honestly I would probably be all over, because I remember playing like the original Super Smash Brothers and the original like GoldenEye and or like GoldenEye 64 and a majority of those other properties.
I can't wait until they do the GameCube Classic and it's something you can put on your keychain.
I would love that, actually.
I just, I like these classic machines. I just really wish that they would get on with their virtual console for the Switch. Just I don't know, because I would like to be able to just give them more money.
I would rather they just loaded their virtual console with all of their their games on like a micro flash drive that you could just plug into your TV that has like a Bluetooth controller into it, and you could just have a Bluetooth controller
Yeah,
and just play it rather than having like this elaborate box that looks like the original box just to play it.
I don't. There's something about.
I mean,
was-
I like
you
the
could do this-
original.
You could do this with your example, but there's something about playing SNES games with an SNES controller.
No, I was saying it would still have the original styled controller.
Okay.
It just wouldn't have a cord.
You want something like
I would
the
want it
Amazon
cordless.
Fire TV.
Yeah, I mean, it would be on a stick, and then you would have like a Bluetooth controller that's the exact same aesthetic of the controller, but
Yeah.
wireless.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Because
think we're
I would not want to, because to me the controller is like half the fun of the console itself.
Yeah. More predictions.
We'll see a Obi-Wan movie announcement. But that depends on how well Solo does.
Well, I mean, I don't think Solo's going to do worse than Rogue One.
No, I don't think so either. I think people are still gonna see it no matter what happens. I mean, people have been complaining about The Last Jedi and yet are still gonna see Episode 9. They'll have gone and forgotten it and created a new headcanon and become disappointed and blame it on J.J. Abrams. So,
Oh yeah.
I blame him entirely for an entirely different reason. And that's he revitalized Star Trek films and then he ruined the franchise thereafter. But that's my personal opinion. He made basically a demo reel with Star Trek for the Star Wars film that he did. So
Right.
um,
I don't know.
I think-
I'm trying to think of other things, but
I think Disney's going to buy a toy company this year because it's the only thing they don't own.
they don't seem to want to be.
They have a comics business, and then they have a ton of like TV and streaming and film tentpoles.
I don't think that's something that they want to be in the business of. And the only reason I say that is because they don't. At this point, they've. I know it's entirely different things, but at a surface level, I feel like they can be grouped together. Okay, they don't make their own video games. They license out their properties to other developers and publishers. Okay. And when they did make toys, which it was for video games, so they're not exactly toys, but when they did the Disney Infinity, okay, that whole game and the Toys to Life thing,
Yep.
they shut that down. Like that was a very popular series, and they shut it down. Like, but because Disney was making that, like I feel like they don't.
They would rather have somebody else foot the bill of creating it, and then they just license it.
Yes, like I feel like that's an arm that they don't want, and I think that's because obviously at some point in time they were there. I think. Well, no, I don't know that they've. I feel like all of their stuff is licensed for the most part, unless it's from a Disney store.
Yeah,
all
they
of their
do.
Stuff is licensed.
Majority of their all of their Star Wars stuff comes from Hasbro.
Now, does Hasbro still have like?
They've had the Star Wars line since Kenner owned it, which Hasbro bought Kenner back in the 90s.
Okay, so sidebar here. You don't have Netflix, do you?
Not anymore.
Okay, there's a really cool documentary series that started on Netflix, and it's called The Toys That Made Us. And the first, I think it's going to be 8 episodes, if not more, but the first 4 episodes are Star Wars, He-Man, Barbie, and G.I. Joe. and they go through an abridged version of the history of the toy line. And it is, I watched all 4 episodes over the holiday weekend, and it was very enlightening, and it was very very, very cool to see. Like I said, the first one was Star Wars, so like I got the gist. Like I just didn't, I couldn't recall. Like, I know that Hasbro has the rights to Star Wars for like life or something like that. It was written into the contract.
Yeah, pretty
like,
much they
for,
do.
For better or worse. But like I didn't, I don't know if like, I don't know if that means like Disney can veto toys that they want to make. I don't think it does. I
I think that Hasbro just makes whatever they want to make, and
Yeah.
and then it's just signed off on, like, hey.
Yeah, it feeds back into the machine.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's basically what they said in the documentary, which was Hasbro, not Hasbro, Kenner. I think it was Kenner at the time. They made all the toys. They made toys of all the ships and everything that was in Star Wars. And then they had nothing else to sell, so they started making up their own stuff. And Lucas said that he liked that because that just fed back into the whole Star Wars thing. Like, it was stuff that they could then use in future movies if they wanted to. So, but yeah, I don't see them like that. That's what I'm saying. Like, why would they make their? I don't think they're gonna buy. Like, why would they buy Hasbro? Like, why would they
makes sense.
Like, because that's just a cost that they have. One, they have to absorb it, and then they have to, like, I'm guessing it's more complex to buy a toy company than it is to buy a movie studio.
Yeah, I can see that, because then you're dealing with a bunch of other properties that you don't necessarily own.
Well, it's that, and then of course, then you have to get the materials, like
a lot of overhead.
Yeah, so I'm not saying they couldn't do it and make it profitable. I'm just saying maybe that's something they just don't want to do to maintain better profits. I predict that Sony still will not give me an Infamous 3, which I want very much bad. Oh, here's one. I think around E3 or the PlayStation experience in December, we will hear about the next PlayStation.
I was about to say something about that. I think that we're going to see that too.
I think that it's I say that because I think that all consoles are moving towards the cell phone app store idea, which is kind of where they should have been for a long time. But there will be a new PlayStation, but it will play like everything. Like, it'll play like your PS4 games and stuff that you've invested in and whatnot. Like, all that stuff will still be playable on it. Just like if you buy an app on your app store, like, and you buy a new phone, it's still going to work on that phone. I think that's the model that they've been going with. I've been saying that through like XRG, through Off the Cuff, through Geek Stuff, GarageCast. With this generation, I feel they're just going to do the incremental upgrades, but all your games will just work going forward.
So they'll be like a PC in a sense.
More or less, it'll be like that. But it'll be the PC that has hopefully the less headaches. Because you don't have to worry about drivers and all that stuff.
Yeah, because it's just a box that it does its own thing. And
exactly. So, but I think what they did is they found that the market is, by looking at the mobile market, they've seen that that there is a market for people that are acceptable of that. Because they're not going to say, like, I think I'm kind of thinking that eventually you'll just start seeing PlayStation games. I don't think it'll say PS4. I think you'll see stuff just PlayStation.
Yeah, that would be nice to see them phase out of the numbers and all these, like Xbox One, Xbox 360, Xbox, classic, just Xbox or PlayStation, or it would be nice to just have the name of the box and added number.
Right. So I think that's one thing we'll see. See, I think that's all I got. I just wanted to touch on a couple of fun movie things. Obviously, as like news comes out through the year, we'll have more predictions on things.
I'd be curious to see if people like this concept of a predictions episode, just periodically, coming up with random just predictions out of the blue and seeing what sticks and what doesn't.
Well, I think it'd be fun too next year to do a more, now that if we think about it ahead of time, rather than firing this one out, we could come up with a more definitive, like 2019 predictions. And then at the end of 2019, like you could do your prediction episode in 2 parts, right? Part 1 would be how right were we, and part 2 would be predictions for the next year.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun to do, actually.
Like taking taking a look back at the predictions that we made. Like and obviously we can still do that. We could, at the end of 2018, we could take a look at all the predictions we made at the end of 2017 to see how right or wrong we were. So, which is why I put a couple of easy ones on there.
I think we may see a new WB Montreal Batman game too. I've heard rumblings.
I thought it was Rocksteady making Superman.
I think they'll make a Justice League one.
It'll be interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, so that about rounds this episode out. You can use the hashtag Altered Predictions to kind of let us know what your thoughts and predictions are for 2018. You can get a hold of us also on the website post or on social media on Facebook or Twitter at Altered Geek. You can get a hold of me at SCP21 and yourself.
You can get a hold of me at Booth Ninja 81. And remember, we're now 6 episodes into this quote-unquote new format. If you guys come across any geeky stories that you want to hear us talk about in the manner that we've been talking for the last 6 episodes, let us know. That will help keep this fresh and more entertaining, because what I would like to do is to not keep retreading the same thing, going forward. Like, I would hate to have like every 4th episode be about like talking about Batman, for instance,
or Star Wars,
or Star Wars. So if you've got like, if there's some crazy tech story or crazy geek news out there that you don't think we've seen and you want us to see and share our thoughts on, please at us, leave it in a comment, any way you can do it.
So until next time, get altered, get geeky with the Altered Geeks.